Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm the Gareth Major and this is a review of USS Helena, the Tier 6 American light cruiser as part of the new cruiser tech tree split. Now, USS Helena is a Brooklyn class cruiser. Officially she's actually a St. Louis subclass. Basically she's one of the last two of that class of cruiser that were built, and because she was among the last, that meant that they could do slightly more modifications to her before she was actually launched. So she has a slightly different secondary arrangement, and she's got more compartments inside in the engine space to improve her engine survivability. Now this is a game of domination on neighbours. I spawned on the centre right and I'm moving over to the right flank just to get some DPM over there. It's a tier 5 and 6 game. Now they've got a T61, a Jervis, a Benson, a Nuremberg, a Helena, Izumor, QE and Colorado, so an interesting mix on the other team. Now I'm going to chuck up that plane as I've moved over to the right flank, and I'm going to start talking about the comparisons. Before I do that, what I want to do is I've done a light touch on the USS Helena and the Brooklyn class, but if you want a bit more in-depth knowledge on the history / design of them, then I'd always recommend Draken for Now's 5-minute guides, and the Brooklyn class cruiser guide will be carded top right now. So back onto the review. As always, this is all going to be in comparison to the tech tree cruisers fully upgraded, and it's the USS Helena fully upgraded as well. So talking about the survivability, we have a below average HP for the tier, so that's not good news. However, if you take into consideration only the 6-inch cruisers at tier 6, what you'll find is that the USS Helena actually has the highest base HP for a 6-inch cruiser. So that's quite an interesting sidestep, almost, I guess you could say. If you like light cruisers, then USS Helena has slightly more health than them. Now, the armor values look pretty average. However, we don't have any armor schematics for the game, and so how this is distributed is not really easily defined. However, if you have the tier 6 premium cruiser, the Boise, then it's going to be exactly the same as that. So if you play the Boise, then you already have an idea on how the Helena is going to behave when she comes into fire. And for some of you, you might say not very well, and you're probably going to be right. I'm just trying to use my rudder just to try and mitigate how much damage I'm going to take from that. Very good. On to the artillery. Well, as a 6-inch cruiser, it's not really going to surprise you that the caliber of the guns is small for the tier. At this tier, you are looking at some of the heavier cruisers becoming available, and unfortunately 6-inch guns is the smallest they get down at this level. I'm just trying to bear in mind the Izumor, which I really don't want to be getting too close to. Now, we have 5 turrets with 3 guns per turret, so we have 15 6-inch guns in total, which is a lot of guns. Now we have A turret, B turret super firing over, then we have what I'm going to call Q turret, which is behind B turret facing rearwards, then we have X turret super firing over Y turret at the rear. Now we have the shortest range, which isn't that good. However, the shells are quite floaty and have quite a high angle, so what you'll find is it's good for shooting over islands. However, when it comes to shooting targets at long range, you will have to leave the targets a little bit more than you're normally used to, and it's very easy for very agile enemy ships to dodge the incoming fire because it sits in the air for so long. For a 6-inch gun, we do have a very low or very slow reload speed, unfortunately, which is quite surprising. But we do have a very fast turret traverse speed, so that's always something to bear in mind. You will be able to switch gun sides quite quickly. Another thing to note is because Q, X and Y turret all face rearwards, you are in a slightly better position to kite away from an enemy rather than kiting towards, because obviously with 3 turrets facing rearwards, they're easier to switch from port side to starboard side. Now we have the highest HE and AP DPM for the tier, which is good, and we've also got the highest fire chance per minute. That's sitting at about 11, so it means if you had the perfect minute, I guess you could say, with RNGs, this is in your favour, every shell hit the right spot, and the chances worked out properly, then you could get 11 fires within a minute, which is quite vicious. I mean, we've already got 7 fires out of 56 rounds. Going on to torpedoes, nothing to mention here, there are no torpedoes due to American doctrine. Maneuverability, average speed and turning circle, however you do have a slower than average rudder shift, so that's something to bear in mind when it comes to using your maneuverability. So I've got T-61 in the middle and a Helena off to my front, and then one of the battleships is way out of range, which is good. Seeing if I can get some chunk damage on that T-61 help out my destroyer. Now, concealment is better than average, but it's nothing special, unfortunately. It's just there's quite a tight cluster of ships in that slightly better than average concealment, so you basically sit among them, really. Now, consumables, we get 2 sonar base, and it's slightly different to the usual sonar. You can pick up ships at 4 kilometers range, where the usual range is about 4.2. You can pick up torpedoes at 3 kilometers range, where the usual range is about 2.9. So it's different. It's not German, but it is different to what everyone else has. Now it's also got a slightly longer duration. You've got 100-second duration rather than a 94-second duration, so that's, for some reason, you've got a very slightly different arrangement there for some reason. Now it still has 180-second reload. Then you get catapult fighters, you get 4 of them base. There's nothing really special to mention about them. The only thing I could note that might be of interest is that they have a below average damage per second, if that is of interest. But if the worst fighter at this tier is the one that comes on the shores, and hence that no one really uses it, you'd rather have radar on the shores, but that's talking about a different ship. Modules wise, so modules and the ship build is modules, the ship, modules and the commander build, I should say, are all down in the descriptions, but just to run over the modules, I've gone for aiming systems because your alternatives is to go for secondary mods, or secondary battery mod, which doesn't really seem worthwhile, or you could improve your turret traverse speed for decreased rate of fire, but then you've got a decent traverse speed as it is. I'm just trying to work out, what are you doing? I'm going to follow you, kid, because I don't want to go over there and YOLO against a destroyer and a battleship. I'd rather have destroyer support, so I'm going to head back over here with you and just stick with the team. Second module I've gone for is propulsion systems. The reason being is I wanted to improve the acceleration and deceleration of the cruiser a bit more, so that means I could stop more quickly when I find a decent position behind an island, and sometimes you can feather the throttle in order to dodge incoming shots as well. However, because of the steering, for the third module I went for the steering gears, just because that does give you a minus 40% on the rudder shift. However, I can see there being some alternative combos in regards to the second and third module. You could go both steering gears, you could go steering gears and concealment module. It could be quite interesting combo. So there's definitely some variants there that you can go for. Now, there's the traits, basically the traits or the boasts or whatever you want to really call them that you can see for the cruiser. The traits are the surgical shells. Basically your AP fuse time is slightly shorter than the norm, and therefore it shouldn't overpen as much. However, it's 6-inch guns, so the penetration factor on them isn't that high anyway, and what you'll find is that you're not going to be really doing well against thicker armor. So hence you're probably going to be mostly focusing on the high explosives, which is definitely the thing to go for. Is that Colorado going to look at me? That Colorado's looking at me. He's looking at you, kid. Now, the other one is Guns Aplenty. Basically, she has 15 6-inch guns. There's nothing really to complain about here. Just slamming on the throttle and just seeing. 16-inch shells will overpen the bow of the Helena. That's something to bear in mind. Usually you don't want to be this close to a battleship, because I don't have torpedoes. This is an awkward position. Now, the last but not least, her other trait is that she has sluggish shot. Because of this sluggish shot, I'm just going to see where that Colorado goes, because I might just go around the island the other way. Sluggish shot is basically that shell trajectory that she comes with, the slower shells and things like that. Now, so they've got one destroyer in Bravo, one destroyer in Charlie. Colorado's nearly gone, so that means that I can push into Charlie, try and find this destroyer. I shall use my first sonar of the match. I shall confirm. Do I have turrets rearwards? Come on, turrets. Come on, you should be able to finish that. Nice. Jervis. Now this is where having that propulsion mods does come in useful, is when it comes to dodging torpedoes. Destroyers don't expect you to decelerate so quickly. Now I've got to remember that my range of picking up ships is 4 kilometers. However, the kid's got the other flank of the Jervis, so it is putting the Jervis into a little bit of bother. Now at this range, this many guns, it is horrible to be a destroyer. You just get chunked to pieces. So this is one of the advantages of the Helena. There we go. I should be able to dodge those nicely. There we go. So what they got left? They got their Queen Elizabeth. So we're up to 140 hits. I seem to be finding that about 140 hits is quite average for a game, so the Helena, she does seem to be a bit of a bullet spam. And also I've managed to get 12 fires as well. That's probably enhanced by my commander build, which is down in the description of the video. Now, it's going to be possibly a slow ending to the game. I suspect we're probably going to get more points than... Basically what I'm trying to say is we're probably going to top out on points before I can actually engage the Queen Elizabeth. Although the Queen Elizabeth probably will kill the Bayern. Just looking at the health. Or the game's actually going to time out in... Yeah, the game's going to time out first before I can actually get into range. So that's one of the downsides, is the short range on the Helena. Now you could buff that out with command skills and inspirations. Whether it's worthwhile is another question, because the shells are so sluggish in the air. Whether it's worth... Because when you increase your range, they're going to be even more drifty in the air. So it means you've got leading targets even more. I mean, at long range I'm having to lead targets beyond what the reticle will actually allow me, pretty much. Especially some of the very quick ones. Okay, so we're able to engage on the Queen Elizabeth. And you can see that at maximum range you can pretty much have always have one volley in the air. You can always fire off another volley before your next volley even gets to the target. Well, that's the end of that game. 58,000 damage. It's nothing special for the Helena. She can do better. I have had better in her, but I think when I first got her, I was probably averaging about 40,000 to start with. I'd say, yeah, averaging about 60,000. Sometimes having a nice special game where I get 80 to 100, but it's because she's so weak, you have to play her a bit further back and a bit further out of the action, and because of the short range as well. However, I'm not saying you can't have a good game in her. 12 fires as well, so she's going to be very good for fire challenges. She's also going to be very good for getting hits on target challenges as well. Came second on the team. Happy with that. Reasonable placing. The other person that, yeah, was the kid who came in at the top place. Good play. Economy obviously made a pretty penny. The buy-in, 108,000. So that shows a bit of variance on the ship service costs at tier 6. I think only a couple of days ago we were looking at the Lantern, that was only 75,000 buy-in, so that's a variance of 25,000. But I think the buy-in for tier 6 is normally about 110,000 is the best way to put it. Well, if you enjoyed the review, give the video a thumbs up. If you're not already subscribed and you enjoy this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. And if you already are a subscriber, then thank you very much. If you have it in your own gameplays, then you can submit them for my commentary as part of the Amity Reports playlist. And our email address is under the About tab, but it's also down in the description, along with the Commander build and the ship mods. I've been the Gareth Major, and back to the port.